I'm going to be painting this little scene from Kinclaven Woods, if that's how you pronounce that. A wee photograph I took just recently when I walked through the beautiful bluebell trails. So that's what we're going to be putting on this little 20 by 30 centimetre canvas today. I've mixed up this pale yellow colour and I'm going to completely cover the background with that. It's cad yellow, sap green, white, and I added a touch of cad red and ultramarine blue to that, but I mean the tiniest little touch. And where the light of the background meets the forest floor in the background, there's a kind of pale blue light. So I'm just going to hint at that just now, and while that pale yellow is still wet, we've got a nice blend between the two colours. Now I've mixed up a light blue, ultramarine blue, white and some cad red, and that is going to be used for the background bluebells. And now to the foreground I'm going to add this dark green, which was just sap green, ultramarine blue and burnt umber. I did add a touch of cad yellow as well, but just a dark green. And that's going to go in there. I actually hate that colour, so I'm going to add some more burnt umber to that. I've mixed up a lighter green now, some sap green, cad yellow and white, and I'm going to try and pick out some highlights. I actually think it could do with being even lighter than that, so let's add some more cad yellow and some more white. See, that's a beautiful colour. I want to do the same sort of thing with the bluebells now. Pick out the darker shades, so a slightly darker blue, ultramarine blue, white and some cad red added to the paler blue that I had already put down. I think that'll do just now. I'll let that dry and then we'll get some trees drawn in. I've mixed up a little bit of every colour here, to be honest. I'm trying to get a kind of light brown, grey, purpley colour, so I've put a bit of blue and brown and yellow and red and green and white and everything into this, and I'm just going to play about with this colour until I kind of get what I want from it. I hope that hasn't been out of focus that whole time there while I was speaking, but so be it, it is what it is. The trees have their base colour in now, and I'm just bringing you in as I work on this final one because it's got a beautiful line of light down the side of it there, and I've mixed up some a really light, bright lime green kind of thing, sap green, yellow ochre, white, that kind of thing. It's not going to pop as much just now because it's against a light background, which it won't be in a second. I've mixed up a really soft purple that almost borders on grey, to be honest, and I'm going to use that for some distant trees. I'm just doing the same thing now but with a smaller brush. Just really pushing those trees into the distance. I've mixed up another soft purpley grey with ultramarine blue, cad red, burnt umber and some white, and I'm going to start picking out some details in these foreground trees. I'm actually just, this brush is going to do all the heavy lifting here. The shape of that is the exact mark I want to apply. I've now added some cad red and burnt umber to that same mix from just before, the kind of soft purpley grey, and I've made it more of a kind of dusty pink, and I'm going to bring that in, same brush, to these trees. A little close up there of some of the details taking shape on those trees. I'm going to go in with the darkest dark of this painting, which is actually just little notches on these trees. So I'm just going to hint at them. All these little marks are what will bring these trees to life. So I've put a bit of work into those two trees there, and I'm just going to bring you in while I do the same thing for this final tree. I've been outlining some of those shapes that I created for the bark, just to give them a little bit of depth. I've mixed up a little sap green and red there. It's something quite dark, but just not as dark as ultramarine blue and burnt umber together. And I'm going to pick out the shadows of this tree. I'm just blocking in some more colour onto these trees, and I'm using this brush to do the heavy lifting with the mark making. The colour I'm introducing just now is just burnt umber and ultramarine blue with a touch of cad red in it, and a little bit of white. I feel like I can see every single colour in these trees, and so I'm trying to describe that in this painting. So I've added a touch of white to that mix, and I'm going to pull that colour out in just tiny little sections. I think in this case less is certainly more. There's actually a beautiful section of light on this tree just there. I'm going to see if I can start to build that up with some yellow ochre and some white. I've mixed up a pale blue and I'm just introducing that to this tree now. Well, to all the trees, I kind of did it there already. Just trying to get these trees to come to life, and they're just not breathing yet. While the layer on those trees is drying, I'm going to bring in some of the darker leaves of the background. So I'm doing that with some sap green, cad red and ultramarine blue. Again, this little brush is perfect for these marks. So this is where we're at just now. I've popped in some of those darker leaves coming through from the background. And what I'm going to do now is, this is the brightest section of the painting. And I have mixed up this really, really light grey border on purple colour. And I'm going to bring some of those background shadows into the mix. So I've mixed up a sap green, cad red, burnt umber mix. And I'm going to use that to put in the shadows of this tree here. I've mixed up a sap green, yellow ochre, burnt umber and cad red mix here. And I'm going to start bringing out the highlights on this tree. And I use highlights quite loosely because it doesn't really have like stark highlights. It's so subtle. It's certainly as brighter as we get closer to the forest floor, so I'm going to describe that. I'm going to add some cad yellow and a little bit of white to that mix there. And I'm going to bring out this little section. I'm putting a little bit of a wash over these darker leaves. And it's just a wash of sap green, cad red and burnt umber. Okay, I think we can see how we got on with that. I can't resist that sliver of light on that tree, so we're just going to do it now. If I have to redo it, I have to redo it, but this is part of the fun, so why deny myself? Here we go. Oh, that's just so much fun, man. That is honestly great fun. I don't know how something so trivial can be just brilliant, but it is. That is just so satisfying, that. Did I stop it? Oh, I really should stop it there. That just looks great. What a shame I can't just do that over and over and over again. It's time to get some of the shadows in for these bluebells. I've mixed up ultramarine blue, cad red, a little touch of burnt umber and a lot of white. I've just added a bunch of white to that colour, and I'm going to go in with the highlights now for these bluebells. Oh, I'll be honest, I am hating that. Hating that. That is just not what we're here for. What is going on with this nonsense? That's what I get for being so excited about that lime green bit of light. The rise before the fall and all that, innit? This is hideous. This is absolutely hideous. Why is painting got to be like this, man? Up and down and ebbs and flows and oh my goodness. Something is so wrong here. Let's shift direction. I'm going to see if I can change my mind about things by putting the highlights in of the grass. So let's see how we got on with that. Going for an even lighter shade on my grass here. Something close to what we put on this tree. I've mixed up a slightly darker green on top of that lime green that I was just using. And I'm going to use that to pull out some blades of grass that are in the shadows. I'm also using that colour just to pull out some shadows in the grass kind of all over the painting. I've mixed up a really light purple blue kind of colour. It's got a touch of red in there, but it's mostly blue and white. And I'm going to give it another go with these bluebells and see if I can get something that excites me. I've mixed up the dark blue, dark purple colour for the shadows of the bluebells, and whatever happens here I am going to accept because I have mixed up enough blues and purples to do me for today. I can't be bothered. The way I talk, you must think this is just, I am not having a good time. I'm actually having the best time, but it's just so bothersome when you're having such a great time because the process is so much fun. But the actual finished piece always falls short. I am going to focus on the beautiful patterns of the bark in this tree. It's the last thing that I'm going to do to bring these foreground trees to life, is just to create a little bit of pattern and shape on the bark. So I'm mixing up the brightest green that I can, or lightest even, and this is going to be for all those little leaves in the background there. Let's see if we've got this, the colour that we're looking for. Oh, look at that, standing out like a little beacon. That might be just the ticket. But I've just realised I haven't addressed the fact that there's a kind of skip in the tone of my voice, and that's purely because I actually did manage to get the bluebells eventually. I didn't share that process because I felt it was going to take so long and I didn't want to just film a bunch of mistakes, but it ended up being not too bad, so that's it there. It's very pretty. Anyway, I think you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing here. So again, I'm just going to go off camera for a bit and finish this off and pull you back in again in a minute. I've added more white to that mix and I'm just going in with some even brighter highlights. Again, I'm using this colour real sparingly. I've mixed up a darker green now, and I say darker, it's still really light, but in comparison to the colour that we were just using, it's darker. But I just added some sap green and burnt umber and cad red to that bright green mix. And I'm now just mark making in the negative space between those really dark leaves that we put in earlier, just to give the impression of the light coming through. Burnt umber and ultramarine blue mixed together, and we're going to start picking out some branches. Just putting a little highlight on those branches now. And here is the finished painting.